Hello and welcome to HealthyHouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. Today's video is sponsored by our Amazon affiliate link, which you'll see in the description section below. Also in the description section you will see links to any other videos that I mentioned during this video. So today I'm going to talk to you about bottom watering for houseplants. There are certain houseplants that you don't necessarily want to water from above. African violets are one of those because they have the leaves that are very fuzzy and they can collect moisture. They can also get diseases on the foliage, so it's a really good way to keep the foliage dry when you water. At the same time, it's also very easy and it also allows the plant to suck up a lot of water and get very, very hydrated. So that means that you then don't need to water as often, because often when you're watering from the top, it's rushing through. When you water from the bottom, as I'm going to show you how to do in a minute, all of the soil soaks up lots and lots and lots of water and keeps your plants very well hydrated in between watering. So what happens when you put the plant in the water, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is capillary action occurs, and that is movement of water from the wettest part of soil of the potting mix to the driest part. So what happens is, as soon as it hits in here, that wet part is wet, and then the water is drawn up to the drier part, which is at the surface of the soil. And as generally is the case with plants, the driest part of the soil is the top of the soil where it dries out first. So the capillary action draws the water up. So I'm going to show you here with Humphrey, who we had revived, a different Bacchia that we revived in other videos. And I tested, checked him to make sure, because we don't want to overdo things, and he is in the dry zone. A lot, actually pretty dry, so he's definitely ready. So we're going to put him in, and you will see that he is going to sink a little bit. Now, he's doing a pretty good job of soaking up already, I can tell, because he's falling into the water, and when the plant falls into the water, that means it's getting heavier and it's soaking up water. So in this case, you wouldn't really have to do this with him, but say you put a plant into the container of water. So this had lukewarm water in it, and then I stuck Humphrey inside his pot, inside of this plastic container. So say you do it and the plant continues to just float, so it doesn't look like it's soaking up any water. You can get things going a lot faster by just watering a little bit on the top, just a little bit, and that will create more of a suction action. So here you can tell Humphrey's getting nice and heavy with water. Going to leave him there for a little bit while he waters. Now, as I mentioned, African violets are really good ones to use for this type of watering. And the African violet is ready. It's about 3.5 on the moisture meter. It wasn't a minute ago. You can see it. You can move around to make sure too. And it's pretty dry. So it definitely needs water as well. So now, I could put this plant in here, but this is too deep for this plant. It's going to sink, and I'm going to have a hard time getting it up. So what I want to do is use a container that's smaller, and like this one. So I'm going to pour some water in this, and I'm going to set this African violet in. And it's sitting there sideways a little bit, which means that it hasn't quite started soaking up yet. You will notice that these containers that I have put these plants in are almost the same size as the container that the plants are potted in. That's important. You don't want the capillary action is not going to really work well and not going to start quickly and get moving if you have a big bucket that you're putting the plants in. Another problem that you can have is the plants can be floating around in that big bucket of water and fall over, which is not what you're trying to do, and could even come out of their pots when you do that. So do put them in a container that's just a little bit bigger than the container they're already in. Now this one looks like it's soaking up well. You can check as you go too and see if the plant was very dry, that say there wasn't much water left anymore, then you can add more water So for this African violet, probably enough, but just to show you, you can add a little bit more water, so just keep an eye on that. The plant, you'd be surprised how much the plant soaks up. So Humphrey here still has some at the bottom, but you see that was, he soaked up quite a bit of water. He's nice and heavy with water. I'm going to leave him in there just a little bit longer. I know there are recommendations by some to leave things, especially if you're on vacation, to leave things in a thing of water and let them soak as they want and that sort of thing. The problem is with most houseplants, you're going to introduce in a fungal situation, an overgrowth, and you're going to end up with root rot. So keep that in mind. You're better off doing something capillary action wise like we mentioned here, but something with you can use yarn and that sort of thing to soak up, to put into the soil, into the water, and then that will then get redrawn into the soil, and that actually is another video I'll be doing in the future. But this bottom watering is something you want to do when you're watering. So I would suggest, if you're going to leave for a while and you're concerned about the plants getting watered enough, or even maybe you have someone coming in and you're not sure how well of a job they're going to do, then do go ahead and use this method to water your houseplants, even your bigger ones, because this is going to get them very nice and soaked. So I can tell you right now, Humphrey is very heavy with water right now. So when you do finish with this method, make sure to put it in another container where you can let before you put the plant away, where the excess water can also drain off, because you don't want them sitting in water. And this one is still, the top is not wet yet. That tells me that it probably needs a little more water to soak up, and also I'm going to do just a tad on top. Of course, you know, I'm trying to keep these African violet foliage dry, so I just put a teeny bit, but now it looks like it's soaking up better. One thing to keep in mind too when you're doing this, some plants, especially dry plants, will bubble the water. You'll see bubbles in the water. You'll also see bubbles even in the water that is in the pot itself. You'll see bubbles in the pot, in the soil, but it's the water bubbles. Wait until all the bubbling has stopped before you go ahead and take the plant out of the container with water, because what that indicates is there are dry air pockets within the soil that are becoming filled with water, and that's why the bubbles are occurring. So you want to have it nice and well watered, the whole soil, not any air pockets and dry areas when you're done. Another thing you can do is you can take this out, I have another video on this, and squeeze the pot a little bit to break up some of those dry air pockets as well, and then put the plant back in the water to then re-soak up those areas to get all of the areas nice and moist. So that gives you another idea there. Although Humphrey is definitely nice, you'll feel afterwards nice and heavy, full of water, so I'm going to take him out. But this guy is still getting much heavier, but not quite done. You want to check the top of the soil for moisture too. So this one has a little bit longer to go. And then I will be putting her in her catch pot here where she can drain. And then as I mentioned in a video on creating catch pots to create humidity for plants, which African violets like, the water after the watering, this nice heavy watering for her, will drain into there and then create humidity for her. I will just make sure that none of the water came up above the marbles so that she's not sitting in water. So that is it today for a bottom watering. Something for you to give a try, especially for maybe some of those plants that keep drying out on you very quickly. And that will work well for you. So thanks for stopping by today. Please leave comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video.